Whalen from Super Secret Project X, and this morning I found another character I want to draw. Been watching Gravity Falls this week. I want to draw myself a Gruncle Stan. What?
I was going to suggest that.
Yeah. No, he's one of my favorite old dude characters.
Is he going to be bad or toothless?
What?
Is he going to be him or toothless from How to Train Your Dragon?
Oh, yeah, Toothless is, actually, Toothless isn't a bad idea, actually.
Same for next week.
Yeah, I might do that next week. But, yeah, so, I'm going to do that. Yeah, move the camera down here a little bit. Alright. And as always, just so you guys don't think I'm like a genie or something, totally got references up, because when doing other characters, I think they're kind of important references. So I did Popeye last time, because I'm kind of in a grizzled old dude mood. I decided that my challenge on this one, get this fan turned off. The challenge on this one is to make sure it looks like Gruncle Stan, but I'm kind of wanting a little bit more information on him, like nostrils, for example. I mean, I sort of like this. I guess it's kind of actually a Muppet sort of look. They've gotten with, like, you know, the Muppet nose. I don't know how else to put it. It's Muppet nose, you know.
Well, he and Fiddleford McGucket
Oh, yeah.
on the show both have the giant kind of bumpy noses, which is actually indicative of a natural condition called nicknamed strawberry nose. Usually when somebody drinks a whole bunch, that's one of the things that happens to them.
Is that right? Okay. That makes sense with these characters, yeah. It's like if you aged Gravity Falls up by like one more rating, like what? I guess that'd be Y14 instead of Y7.
It would be, shoot, what's the next one? Y7. Yeah, Y14.
Yeah.
It would be, I think it's the actual.
Yeah, I could see, what was it, Pit Cola in the show. I can entirely see that being like, you know, them just switching it up for a beer, to be honest.
Actually, no, they can't show alcohol or anything under that's not adult or mature. They cannot show alcohol.
I don't know, whatever, I can still see it.
It would be Y14.
Yeah. I can entirely see it. It's like
with a regular show. They were like, yeah, we wanted it to be beer and stuff, but we can't show that, so we had to make them drinking soda, quote unquote.
Yeah, which still actually kind of work, because, you know, I can see college guys either drinking beer or soda. I mean, it just depends on the personality. But with Gruncle Stan, you just always imagined him with, like, a beer in his hand, and, you know, McGucket, you're just like, he's so wasted on moonshine. Yeah, there's just moments in that show where I'm sitting back going like there's some like dark, ugly sort of like little character sort of like, I don't know, truths or something. Like when they were in Seuss's house and they were sort of showing off how they sort of live and they barely had any food and there were cockroaches everywhere and you were kind of going like, it wasn't done as a joke. It wasn't like they're going like, ha ha ha, look at it. Was just sort of like this ugly little moment where you're like, oh my God, that's actually how they live.
Yeah.
They're not doing this, like super middle class Hispanic family, but no, it was a elderly retired lady and like her grandson who's like kind of can't really support himself, and
it's the old Hispanic grandmother who probably still works as a cleaning lady, who's supporting her grandson who was abandoned and given to her to raise basically, and he barely makes money because he's working as a handyman, and he's a man child at that. He's a sweet man child.
Well, and you can clearly tell he's doing the one job he can do, and he's trying. And you can tell this was like a household of people who are doing the best that they can. But that's actually one of the things I liked about it. Just sort of that moment where you just kind of go like, they're not, and it's like with Gruncle Stan and like all of that, they're not showing this optimal kind of situation where the 1950s mom and dad and I'm going to mow my lawn on Saturday, and everything is the way it should. No, it's like everything is like a little miskept, and like I was raised, I was raised in a pretty darn good household and childhood and stuff. Not to say everything was perfect, but it was good. And then I had friends and such which were, not doing almost as well as we were, and their households were a little bit more like that. Things were disheveled and, not perfect, and and there's something kind of marvelous about Gravity Falls that they're like, no, this is a little closer to what it's really like. I mean, not perfect. I mean, clearly it's not a super realistic show, but
it's taking a lot of the things that we know and doing the one thing that a lot of shows they don't do, which is taking the real life experience and caricaturizing it. It's like when you go to like amusement parks and you have the guy that caricaturizes you and all, and focuses on the prominent parts of your face. This is what Gravity Falls does to me. It actually does it, and it's fun. It's the irony of it. They characterize or cartoonize it in a realistic way, but they have fun with it.
yeah.
Yeah, looking at Seuss, I mean, I knew, I had friends who were Hispanic and live the way they do, and I had friends of actually many different types who pretty much live the way that they did. I mean, an unfortunate absent parent who lives with their grandmother, and they're being raised by their grandparents or so, and I mean, all the way up to Pacifica, who had super rich parents, and they just didn't care about her because they were super rich, and pretty much she was raised by whatever nannies that were there.
And that's kind of what I liked is that caricatureness with. In the case, it was actually the rich people that was more caricaturized than anybody else. Mm-hmm. I mean, the Northwests were just unnatural. Mm-hmm. I mean, right down to the point where you just grimace every single time Pacifica's mom is on screen because you're like, what is wrong with it? With all the plastic surgery, she's completely inhuman looking.
Person with rhinophyna. That's what strawberry nose. Yeah.
Wow, look at that. Here, let me grab that real quick. All right, the wife called this up here. This is the condition right here, strawberry nose, rhinophyma,
Yes.
that they do in the cartoons and in like Muppets and stuff. So it's kind of what Gruncle Stan's got going on here. It's
Also made famous by W.C. Fields.
W.C. Fields.
Little chicken.
Nice. But yeah, it's I mean, I think it's fine that people do cartoons and all and not pay attention to what's going on. I mean, hey, it's, each to your own. But I kind of like understanding what's going on in these characters. And that's what I mean about Gruncle Stan. I'm fairly certain just always has a beer in his hand, because you can kind of see some alcoholism going on there.
Or whiskey than anything, probably.
Probably, yeah, or scotch. Yeah, he's probably one of those, like, I don't want to say fancy drinkers, but thinks he's a fancy drinker.
No, I think it's pretty much whiskey and anything that isn't turpentine.
Well, you know what I mean. Like he's the kind of guy that goes like, beer is water, but when he goes out and drinks, he gets like, what he thinks is the good stuff. One of those guys, It's actually what I really like about that character is they just went in and went, God, let's just without making him the most unsavory character, let's just make him so flawed, All right, let me see if I can figure out how to get an actual kind of bit of a nose in here now that I've actually seen the nightmare of the actual condition you looked up there. I can kind of see why you didn't see any nostrils on these guys, but let me see if I can get a little bit of one from the side here.
Yeah, it's kind of associated with rosacea in a sense.
With a what now?
Rosacea. It's associated with that.
Oh, right. That sort of that reddening kind of.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
It's funny from what it's saying on here. It's usually attributed to alcoholism, but alcohol isn't a cause, but it can actually cause the features to be prominent more because of the reddening of the skin and flushing of the face and all.
I can see that.
Yeah. Basically, the glands on the tip of the nose just become inflamed and they start getting a little bit bulbous and stuff and a bit more vacillated.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad there's shows like Gravity Falls on. I mean, it's over and all that, but I'm glad they created that. That's such a good example of what you can do, especially being Y7. That's what really gets me. Is it didn't occur to me until I looked at the rating, what the rating on it was. There's so much good stuff in that show, and I'm going like, 7-year-olds? I mean, I get that 7-year-olds can watch it. I mean, clearly I understand that. I'm not delusional. But I'm also kind of watching it going like, there's stuff going on here that 7-year-olds just will not catch. They're not capable. They don't get it.
Well, the ratings for that is usually put just for the sake of getting it in a wider audience. When they started those particular rating systems, from what I understand, they tried to adhere to them as best as they could because that started, I want to say, about 15 years ago or so. They tried to adhere to them as best as they could, but after a while, when people like us started getting into power, we wanted to just tell stories without being restricted to no, you have to do it at this demographic. And so a lot of the shows that were coming out were mainly all ages, but you have to have a demographic from the old farts and power that want that kind of thing. So in order to get the show on there, you have to say, okay, it's designated for this area, because even though it says Y7 in the corner or so, if you look it up online, it'll say Y7, Y14, yada yada. It'll give this entire list of what of the groups that it's made for. And so if you have anything from like Y7 all the way up to, you can't, like, it has fantasy violence and stuff like that. So they have to put it in a box so that the suits can understand and go, oh, okay, this is where we need to focus on advertising on.
And I mean, I get that because, like,
Mystery Inc. is another good example.
Yeah, Mystery Inc. was a good one, too.
Yeah, that was also Y7.
Yeah, that's... Oh, my God, that's so far from being... there's... Okay, for years they wouldn't say, like, we're going to die or that kind of thing. They would use some other words because apparently that would scare kids.
Destroyed.
They would go, I'm going to get destroyed. What? But there's so many times in both Mystery Inc. and Gravity Falls where they're like, we're going to die. You know? And I'm sitting back going like, I'd probably be screaming the same thing at this moment. That's horrifying, you know? You're like...
Well, one of my favorite scenes out of Mystery Inc. with that, I think it was like fourth episode when they go down to the Louisiana Bayou.
Oh yeah, the gator people.
Yeah, and there's the scene where Scooby-Doo is staring at the giant sign, the welcome sign that they're talking about for the hotel there, and all the lights flash out, and the only thing that it says is the dog dies.
Yeah, I loved that, and then later on that theme continued, like for a long time where they keep like going like, hey everybody, guess what? The main character is destined to die, and I was going like, this rules. But yeah, like in I like that extra little level of I'm not going to say realism exactly, because clearly Gravity Falls, they're so unrealistic. But in a way, realism, where they're going like, no, these characters can die. They're not going to get a brick, falling off of a shelf, hitting them in the head, get a boink noise, which can be funny. I am not taking that away. In certain contexts, that is really funny. But they end up going like, no, check this out. People can die in this, and that actually seriously raises the stakes. And then you go like, first episode of the second season of Gravity Falls where they get attacked by zombies, and they're actually like crushing zombie heads and such. And I'm going like, oh my God, there's guts and eyeballs and stuff hanging. And I'm going like, this is Y7? I wasn't...
They're not robots. They're not like... fake things that you can substitute for. It's like, yeah, they're actual
corpses. Yeah. and on top of it, they had some really funny, like one of my favorite bits is when Mabel threw this like lit up LED ball at like one of the zombies and it swallowed it, and you saw it walking around the background with like all these flashing lights coming out of it like a disco party, but it was still like a green-gray corpse. And I'm going like, this is just, I was never given shows like this, you know, and I was like, I wish I was given shows like this. This is really amazing. This is an amazing show. And then you get Gruncle Stan being like literally very emotionally damaged, but clearly a very good person, but a good person who is really always on the fence about being a good person. Like, quite often he loses his own battle, you know, and is not a good person, and then at the end of the day, it just comes back and it's like, no, God, that's right, I'm a good person. You know, it's like, and it's so inconvenient because I could make money right now, you know? Which I think is really wonderful, because you're like, oh my God, you're always kind of questioning for a moment, what is he going to do? It's like, what is he going to do? Is he going to finally just snap and sell the children? You know, he's like...
Which also, spoilers for you all who have not seen Gravity Falls. If you have not seen Gravity Falls, go watch Gravity Falls.
Oh, yeah, no, I keep saying this, and there's a whole lot of people out there that don't get it because they're just not into animation, but I really mean this. In the past 10, 12 years, some of the smartest shows on TV have been animated. A lot of the dumbest shows on TV have been live action. I do not care what anyone says. I have watched both, and there's a reason why I keep going back to cartoons. Certain cartoons are infinitely smarter and funnier, and I think in many ways has more talent than so many shows that are live action. And I don't want to like judge people's live action shows. I watch dumb shows too, but there's just some shows where you go like, it's like, would you trade Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. for all of it for one more episode of Gravity Falls? And be like, yeah, without a doubt. I mean, it's like, I'm sorry, it's an okay show, but comparatively speaking, it's not Gravity Falls. It's not as smart. It just isn't.
To be fair with that, first of all, completely different shows.
No, and I agree. I'm just saying what they do with the shows, though.
From what I understand, it got really, really good.
Did it?
Yeah, and actually the season finale that happened earlier this week, from what I heard from a lot of people, was really fantastic.
Okay, well, to be fair, I haven't seen a ton of it. What I was watching, I was like, this is, I mean...
And that's the general consensus from the fans of the show, saying, yeah, for everyone who watched like the first parts of it, yes, it was a little slow, it was a bit mediocre, but it did pick up.
Okay, did it? Okay.
So, and from what I said, from what I've heard, this last season has been absolutely phenomenal.
Okay.
So.
Okay, then to be fair, I should go back and watch it. But there's a lot of shows on TV where NCSI or any of the abbreviation cop shows that after a while you're just going like, this is. I mean, they would have like a number of episodes in the whole that were pretty good, but overall you're kind of going like, I'm sorry, it's not going anywhere.
Again, if we don't watch it, so we really can't say anything.
No, but I've seen years of this stuff, though. I've seen lots of those shows, and there's a reason why I'm not watching them anymore.
Same here. I mean, I love those types of shows. I agree with you. It's like,
yeah.
On the same note, we haven't been watching them in a very long time, so I mean...
Maybe it's changed, admittedly.
Unfortunately, with the original CIS, a lot of that has changed because a lot of the original cast well, the one guy passed away, another guy left the show, or several guys left the show.
Yeah. And I'm not saying that they're terrible shows. I'm just simply saying that if you give me a show like Gravity Falls where there's an actual something occurring, a beginning, middle, and end, and there is. You start in Gravity Falls in one spot, you get to the end of the first season, you're now going like, wait, where is this going exactly? And then by that time you hit the end, you're in a completely different place. Mystery Inc. was the same way. And when people are like, well, I like this, and so, I like Evangelion or whatever, and I'm not saying you don't have a right to like these things. I'm just simply saying that, and a lot of people are probably going to be pissed off at me, but Evangelion does not even get close to comparing to Gravity Falls. Gravity Falls is a far stronger show.
Careful, those are fighting words for some people.
Yeah, but I don't care what they think. I don't want to be mean-sounding, but at the end of it, you're like, okay, a show entirely based upon marketing to angsty teenagers with religious issues that likes mechs. And it's really well, I mean, the animation, the design is really cool. At the beginning of the show, I was going like, dude, there's like really cool stuff going on with like the Monster of the Week thing with Evangelion and blah. But by the time I got to the end, I'm going like, none of the characters. The only time that characters changed is when they died. They were the same characters all the way through, And I just got. And by the time you get to the end of Gravity Falls, now admittedly it was not a ton of change, but each of the little characters had a change. They each had a little bit of an arc. Each had a beginning, middle, end. Stuff happened because it ruins things. But you end up going like, the villain in Evangelion was the biggest mustache twirler I've ever seen. Bill Cipher he's a freak. He's a real like you're going like, you want a demonic villain? Bill Cipher is a wonderful demonic villain. You want a mustache twirler? What is his name? Gendo something? The corporate villain guy from Evangelion is like, I'm going to rule the world. Moo ha ha ha. Look how I brood. It's like you get to the point where you're going like, I'm sorry. Just shows like that. Like, for example, and I'm not going to insult Dragon Ball Z. It's a good show for specifically what it is. It stays within what it's supposed to be. It is what it's supposed to be. With Evangelion, it was just kind of like, with Gravity Falls, I end up surprised at every turn.
Well,
you know?
You're talking about a nearly 25-year difference when it comes to, like, thought process. I mean,
I can agree with that.
The 90s, especially 90s anime, was what it was, and then we have what we have now. You know, we were the people who were watching Evangelion and stuff like that. We're now doing Gravity Falls. So the influence and the all that stuff is what causes Gravity Falls to be done. So
I also have to look at Evangelion on a different scale.
Yeah, but
that's what I'm saying is the Japanese, in many ways, taught us how to do the shows we do today.
Yeah, exactly.
And with Evangelion, it was poor on their scale. I don't care what they say. I don't care what the fanboys say. They're really excited over, like, its motifs. But you compare it to the show that came before by the same studio, which is Nadia.
Yeah.
Nadia is, like, 500 times better. It's including, by the way, darker than Evangelion. Like, oh, you just don't like Evangelion because it's dark. I'm like, no. Watch Nadia. That's dark. Evangelion, it's like, honestly, it never surprised me once. But people are like, what did you think of the blank? I'm like, saw it coming. Well, weren't you surprised by the blank? Saw it coming.
Well,
I'm just every single time. I was like,
Once again, that time period, I mean, for those who were really influenced by it and really loved it and all, it's like, and I hate to put it like this, but I mean, Evangelion had an angsty teenage boy, which was a bit more of a, you can put yourself into template more than Nadia.
I don't know about that. I couldn't get into any of the characters
in it.
in it.
Nadia had a personality that was all of her own. Genji, was that his name, Genji?
Shinji. Yeah, he was just an empty slug of a character.
That's what I'm saying. You could put your own personality into him, and you could relate to him because what teenager wasn't angsty and dissatisfied with life in the 90s?
Oh,
opposed to Nadia, where she had a free, carefree, fun life. It had a pet lion that had balls hanging out.
Well, yeah.
it was more fantastical than Evangelion.
But she also had a character like my favorite.
I loved her. I mean,
and so did I. That's why I like the characters. She had character. Yeah. Unlike another example of a failed Evangelion character, and everyone's going to argue, but I just do not get Rey. Oh, she's so deep. She was a zero character. She was a piece of furniture. And all the guys were like, but she's so sexy. She was a piece of furniture. She was a 14-year-old piece of furniture. And you ended up going like she had, but blah, 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 all this stuff. Yeah, but she was a piece of furniture.
And that's why.
And she was an underaged piece of furniture. And you're going like.
That's why they found her attractive, because once again, they could project every single of their fantasies and fears
it's so sad.
onto her, and she would not argue back.
Yeah.
She had no character, she had no personality, because
she's the perfect female. She'll do what I want.
Exactly.
You know, oh my God.
Exactly.
But yeah, it's. I don't like to judge people's like of shows. Everyone has the right. No, everybody has the right to like whatever they want. It's just at the end of it, when somebody wants me to be impressed, oh my God, look at this, you need to be impressed with this. It's like, you need to show me a reason why, and be able to go to like, point to this, like, but when I look at Gravity Falls, I'm going like, there was, as silly of a show as it was at points, there were really like, the first time Bill Cipher shows up and you're like, oh, what is this? And he pulls the teeth out of the deer's mouth and hands it to somebody. I was like, oh my God, what the hell was that? You're like, oh, freak, what? Oh, and then they're like, okay, I don't know, there was not one moment in Evangelion that got me. Just not one. It just didn't get me once. And there was moments where And both Mystery Inc. and Gravity Falls, where I literally stopped and went, what? Like, I literally had what moments? Like, wait, what? Like the one episode where Scooby Doo is sitting next to the hospital bed with his little dog girlfriend, and you're giggling because it's sad, but you're also giggling because you're going like, it's a human hospital and there's a dog in a bed. I mean, it was kind of funny in that way, but then she just never spoke a word in the whole show. Was just a dog, a snuffling, sniffing dog, and then sits up like Poltergeist and looks at him and just says, Nibiru is coming. And I'm like, what is happening in this show? And then people go like, oh, Evangelion's brilliant because pick a reason.
On the bus.
There's blood on, like blood hits a bus, and the one Evangelion unit eats the other one. I'm like, okay. I mean, I've seen things eat other things. That didn't get me. I saw that coming. I mean, I'm not judging anybody's opinion of that they like the show or not. That's fine that they like the show, but don't tell me that I was surprised and shocked and awed when I wasn't. Especially when Scooby-Doo outdoes Evangelion on darkness. I'm sorry. As weird as that sounds, it really does, because there was just these dark moments that were like super like, wait, what is happening? Oh my God, really?
Again, it's a 25-year difference, so...
I'm sorry, you look at books from 100 years ago as much darker and more interesting than some shows now. I don't think that counts.
I know, and I understand what I'm saying. Like, as far as entertainment-wise, we have to look and see what's, like, once again, like we were talking about earlier, it's one of the different time periods of stuff.
Yeah, true. I mean, I get it. It's just...
I mean, that Evangelion is pretty much what the angsty teen looked at for angsty stuff.
Oh my God.
That is their definition. That was their definition of angsty teen anime stuff.
I want to rebel against Christianity, but I also want big robots. Oh please, it was so ridiculous.
Oh, I have to pilot a robot. Oh, I'm a 14-year-old boy and I have to pilot a robot.
I couldn't get into that.
Why do I have to have this responsibility of saving the world?
Oh my God, I have to pilot a robot the size of a skyscraper. Woe is me. Oh, please. Evangelion, go away. And people are still worshiping it like it's the most amazing thing. And I'm like, okay, fine, it's your thing. That's cool. But I'm sorry, you just need to show me a reason why I'm supposed to be impressed with it. It's like, and I'm going to throw out another, and it's nothing against Gem and the Holograms, but it's the difference. Like, all of them are fine shows in their own regards, but it's like, it's clearly they're all built for very specific groups. And I thought there's interesting things about all of them, including Evangelion. It's just it ended up to me being a disappointment by the end. But you get a show that's very specific to a group of people, and then they go to another group of people and are totally, for some reason, lost as to why they're not into it. It's like, well, because I don't have religious issues, and I'm not into two-dimensional characters that don't evolve, which is Evangelion. And people go like, oh no, they evolve. I'm like, really? Show me how they're different at the end of the show as they were at the beginning of the show. They're the same freaking characters, except some of them are dead.
My hot dog's dead.
My hot dog's dead.
My pizza's dead.
My...
All of my favorite foods are already dead.
And I watch dumb shows too, don't I?
Adventure Time's another one.
I mean, don't I watch dumb shows? I mean, I'm not saying people don't get to watch dumb... I'm just like... I just don't push shows on people saying, like, you're dumb for not liking this. It's like, no, I think things are stupid. Like, it's, you know...
Well, most people don't. It's just that it's the few obsessives that get really attached to it. You just gotta... It happens. So it's not like the ones that we've run into that has done that, those are the ones that we kind of chuckle about. Most everyone else is usually pretty cool.
Oh, yeah, no, and that's it's just, it's fine. I mean, there's... to me, what ruins it, which is most fans, I'm a firm believer that nothing ruins something like somebody in love with something.
Steven Universe is another one.
Yeah, Steven Universe is a great show, but wow, the fandom is something special. Some of them are really awesome people. Some of them are like, wow, you got some things going on there. Well, again, I'm not trying to judge, but I've seen some stuff. I've seen some stuff. And I've had people, and actually I've had friend Jim, he was the one that was like, well, he told me his reasoning behind like his like of Evangelion, and I could kind of get it, even though I couldn't get into it. I was like, no, okay, I get that. But then I've just had people go like, well, you just don't like dark stuff. I'm like, actually, I like dark stuff. That's why I thought Evangelion was lame. What? Like, it's like, do you know me? Woo. I've got some complexities going on. But
stuff and I've ate some stuff.
yeah. But yeah,
it's okay to like what you like, really.
oh yeah, no, that's what I'm trying to kind of say is everybody has the right to love what they love. Just like, for example, I love Fist of the North Star. And there's some people out there that are going to agree with me going like, yeah, man, that show is sweet. But everybody else has a right to not like it.
Well, the thing, what I say is, like, you have the right to like what you like, but also make sure that you step out of your zone and see other things that are out there. Because there's so much great stuff that people are missing. So just, don't be afraid to go out and take a look at things every once in a while. I mean, don't poo-poo something just because you don't think it's good. Like, actually take a conscious effort to go out and say, hey, let's see what everybody's talking about. It's like, me personally, I hate it when the popular stuff gets shoved down my throat, which is the reason why I didn't watch Naruto for years. When we finally started watching Naruto, I was like, oh, this is actually pretty fun. It's a fun show.
And then we ran into the problem that a lot of people had, which is there's like 60-some episodes where the story went like virtually nowhere. And that's kind of where we dropped off with it, where it was like, were we going to get back to the story at some point? And a couple of those were actually fun episodes. They concentrated on other characters. But at the end of it, it was kind of like, and unfortunately, that massive stretch is what killed it for me, and I've just had no interest in going back to it. Because there was just a number, to me, it's like the character development and plot is kind of king and is holy, and you should leave it alone. Leave it be in its spot where it's king. And if you do a TV series of any kind, and it doesn't serve the characters and the plot, then it needs to go away, in my opinion. It's like, why did you do it in the first place if it wasn't serving to tell the characters' stories and where they're going and what's going on? If it just ends up sort of degrading down into here's another fight or here's another, reason why the characters are being depressively ground down to the point where you want to slit your wrists, Evangelion. There was points in Evangelion where I was literally going like, this would be okay if I saw a reason why it was happening.
When I realized exactly, I remember watching it and I was like, oh, this is what it is. It is what it is.
Yeah, it's exactly what it is.
I remember hearing people just gleaming all about it, and then one of the years when we went to one of the anime cons and we were watching the music video portion of it, and the 3 or 4 entries of Evangelion that kept showing the
blood hitting the bus.
Blood hitting the bus. And then the one that got me was, I thought Evangelion was okay. I liked Linkin Park, but then when they combined the both of them together, I started laughing so hard, even though they were trying to be so hardcore and angsty. I burst out laughing because it was so silly.
Yeah, it was like, how can we make the purest, most concentrated form of teen angst? And I actually somewhat respect teen angst. I get it. That's a hard point in life, and
we've all had it.
We've all had it, yeah. And people at that age, and I don't wish to make fun of anything, but as sort of a cartoon character, you haven't found yourself yet. So you've kind of found a niche, and we've all done it, where you fit into, and everything is and it's the hormones in you, I get it. Everything is way stronger emotionally than it should be, and so, I mean, I understand, I do, but there's just moments where the older you get, sort of the sillier everything like that becomes. And with Evangelion, it's like concentrated teen angst. You know, what was it? What was the end of the Evangelion? Was it the beginning or the end of the Evangelion movie where wow, Shinji just ended up, I can't even use the word I want to keep this, just doing something really, really inappropriate all over the unconscious body of one of the girls. And I'm going like, are you kidding me? What does this have to do with anything? It's just weird. It's like, come on, seriously. And I'm into some dark stuff, but I'm like, there was no reason behind it. It was like, oh, we're just going to do this weird thing, and then we're going to say there's symbolism behind it, and all the fans are going to go like, it's deep. You know, I mean, it's like, it's not deep, it's silly. You know?
I would have loved to have seen, because I would have laughed. That would have been so, like, just specific. That would have been like the crowning point, is that particular scene. And when it's done, all you heard was, crawling in my skin!
You know, and I saw that bit, and I was crawling in my skin. I'm going like, is there a plot or a character? I mean, I suppose you could argue there's a character reason behind it, but it was like Shinji at that point was just this weird, like, I'm never going to change, I'm never going to grow up, I'm eternally uncomfortable in my skin, you know, and you just end up going like, okay, I suppose if there was better character development in Evangelion, I'd be like, wow. But there was very little, and at the end of it, everyone's just going like, oh, you just don't get it. I'm like, no, I mean, I get it. It's you're falling for a marketing ploy. And I hate to say it, but like a Y7 show is much better developed. And in case, I don't want to say necessarily darker, maybe that's not the right way of putting it, but like when you find out what happened to McGucket as to why he was, and you thought, it's like he's just this ridiculous cartoon character, and he is at the beginning of the series. He's a ridiculous cartoon character, and then you find out why he is the way he is, and it was like this just dark moment where I was like, wow, that's kind of seriously ugly. And I mean, just was like, oh, okay, there's an actual something happening here. And it's really sad, and all the earlier stuff you were laughing at, you suddenly feel kind of bad for laughing at it. Whereas Evangelion, it's like, we're just gonna be mopey. Oh, another bad thing happened. Isn't the world dark? And then a character will look over and nod, goes, the world's dark. And you're like, yes, the marketers told us to make this dark. Make it angstier. I need 15% more angst here. Let's have Shinji's dad force a 14-year-old boy to kill a character with his robot, and you go, or should have Shinji kill a character with his robot, and it's his friend. I was like, really? I mean, it's like, and I watch Attack on Titan, and Attack on Titan is similar in the way that it's kind of dark for sort of being dark.
It's very dark.
It's super dark. I mean, there's just some wow stuff happening there, but I don't know, there just feels like there's much more happening with the characters. Like there's, you know, you're seeing characters actually kind of progress, even though it's still in this super dark context.
I had to go hug some puppies after watching like a couple episodes. I couldn't watch that anymore.
But I'm just, to me, Attack on Titan is what Evangelion was trying to do. Like, because I was seeing like a plot actually occurring. I was seeing characters actually kind of, sometimes you didn't get how they were evolving, but you were seeing them at least changing. You weren't getting why necessarily until later episodes, and you know, so you know.
This story for the sake of story, and not just for the sake of. They have a lot of gore, and they have a lot of like stuff that have made me just go like, oh, I can't watch it. It was a good story.
Yeah.
And I would have loved to have watched more, but just unfortunately, I just could not take on all the gore that was in there because it was so. It was becoming gore porn.
Well, here's the thing about, and I have to say why that stuff in Attack on Titan was so effective, because I've seen gore porn. I can't watch that stuff. It's really hard to watch. With Attack on Titan, and there is some gory moments, but they take the camera off the moment it's about to get really bad. And they go to the classic stuff where they do, it's like approaching gore porn, and then they shift it over into another shot where you're not seeing what's actually happening, and it makes it so much worse. I mean, there's just moments where you're like, "Whoa," you know, like, why? And in the case of Evangelion, it was just like, "Look, we're doing another dark, violent thing. Watch, look, we're doing it. Isn't that good? Have we served our marketing? You know, not purposes. That's the wrong word. Our marketing plan. You know." Yeah, and I'm so trying not to judge anybody's stuff. I just have a hard time when people tell me that something's so great, and then I end up looking at it going like, oh, I'm glad you enjoy it. I am. I'm glad somebody has found their thing. I'm so glad.
To be fair, you've done that to other people. Remember how you would always do explain something, and people like, hey, you explaining it is more fun than actually watching it.
And I'm trying not to judge people's love of something, but if somebody tells me something's amazing, I'm kind of in a conversation then where you're kind of like, I've got a measurable thing. Right. This person is saying this thing is amazing. So now we're having an interesting conversation about why they think it's amazing. But then they can't really point to things other than them saying, I really liked it when. And then I'm like, okay, but why is that? I really liked it when the blood hit the bus. Okay, it's a great piece of animation. I mean, it's really neat, and it was all moody and horrifying. I mean, I get it. It was. But then I'm like, but tell me what they're doing with Shinji's character. Oh, well, he's still doing the same thing he's always done through the rest of the show. Oh, how did that impact him? Well, he did exactly what he did before. Oh, okay, well, what about the other characters? Oh, they reacted in horror, too. Did it affect them? Well, they reacted the same way they did at the beginning of the show. Yeah, actually. And they're like, oh. All right, I mean, that's cool. I mean, I'm glad you enjoyed it. You're not, I'm glad you love it. I'll put it that way. I guess I need to have a little bit more plot and character for
Just because you like it, it's not a slam on what
Yeah.
you as a person. It's just
Yeah.
for us.
Yeah, that's it exactly. It's like, I'm glad you liked it. I'm not following your reasoning why it's the greatest thing ever made. And I'm not even going to say that Gravity Falls or any of the other shows that I really like are the greatest thing ever made. I just enjoy pointing out and discussing why I like stuff. And if you want to be like, dude, did you see that scene where that guy farted? It was so funny. I'd be like, dude, I like fart jokes too. But that doesn't necessarily mean that I'm going to find it to be the greatest show ever made. I kind of need a little more than that, I just have a hard time talking to fans anymore, because they're not talking about goods and bads of stuff. They're only, they only want you to tell them that they're right and their favorite thing is the greatest thing ever, and that is always what the conversation ends up being.
The epitome of being a super fan.
Yeah, and I get that. That's what I'm saying, is that's why I can't get into those conversations anymore, because I'm like, oh, okay, well, hey, you're right. Your thing is the greatest thing ever. Your music is the greatest music ever. Yes, the thing you says sucks. Blah, blah, blah. I much rather prefer talking about, like, I actually have one big criticism of Gravity Falls, and I don't want to say it necessarily here, because if anyone hasn't seen Gravity Falls, it kind of ruins the end. And I really like 95% of the ending I liked, but there was one aspect to it, and I get why they did it, and I can respect their reasons for doing it. But they actually had this super dark thing with Gruncle Stan. I mean, like I was like, oh my, wow, kind of moment, like, and then they fixed it by the end, and you were like, oh, okay, I get why they're doing it. You'd hate for that to be the end note to the whole series. I get it, but I'm kind of a fan myself of prices being paid for the danger or the evil in the series to be taken.
Right.
I guess I've sort of said what sort of happens in a way. But I like it when you're like, oh geez, there's that bitter sweet ending kind of thing. And like I guess I should say at the end of the Iron Giant when he explodes in the nuclear bomb. That's it. I wanted the Iron Giant gone because he sacrificed himself. And then it meant something. But at the end where you find out he's actually still alive and there's a potential for a number 2, I was like, oh, I really kind of wanted to edit off the very last couple minutes of the movie because...
Well, they should have stuck to the original book ending because in the book ending he actually did die.
'Cause I still need to read the book. I've heard it's quite good. That's what I kind of mean is if I suddenly get but it's going to be okay, we can make a sequel. I'll be like, oh, I'd rather you didn't because you just reduced entirely the impact of what just happened.
Well, that was for the kids, for little kids who apparently at that time people think that kids can't handle death properly, so they have to make them think that he's still alive, so they're not going to be in a crying heap later on.
But I hate to say this, that's a great moment for a little kid to actually get some emotional maturity and cry.
Oh, I agree.
That's a great moment.
I absolutely agree with you, but these are, that was the time period for that stuff. I mean, you remember growing up in that time period where we couldn't watch things because apparently if we watched a certain thing, we would suddenly start doing drugs and...
Oh yeah, so stupid.
Yeah, exactly. That's what that time period is. Like, they didn't think that kids are actually smarter than what they are just because a select few reacted in the way that they thought they were going to react. It's like, with Lauren Faust, who actually worked on Iron Giant, she was saying, when that movie came out, I think it was like around the same weekend that was like The Matrix or so. So... but something else came out.
Talk about another movie I want to cut the last minute off of.
Right. But apparently, it was either Matrix or another movie. I can't remember. I'm sorry if I'm getting it wrong. Where that movie did not get as much hype as they wanted it to. The other reasons why is because when they released the trailers for the Iron Giant, she was like, they were so angry because when they showed the trailers, they put stuff like "Rock You Like a Hurricane."
I know! It was so messed up!
It was like they were giving such a horrible inclination of what the movie was, and it was not even close to what the actual storyline was about. And so people were just like, what the heck is this? And so they had no idea what to expect going into the movie, if they even were going to go to the movie at all.
And they were advertising with "Rock You Like a Hurricane," and you got in, and it was a 1950s sci-fi Cold War paranoia movie.
Exactly, and it just really, like, when I was listening to that podcast, all I could do was just kind of, I was laughing both in pure just entertainment and also in pure sadness, just to keep myself from crying, because that. You could feel like the disappointment in their voice when they were talking about that. She was like,
yeah, for such a great movie, the creators shouldn't be disappointed in their creation.
She's like that. Another one was that she worked on was Cats Don't Dance, and she was.
I've never seen that one.
Oh, it's I have it. We have it on DVD. I bought it because it's one of the few movies where she got to showcase her directing and animation talent. Well, she's more of her animation skills. And it's a musical, so I'm not sure how much you like it, but the musical...
To me, musicals depend upon if it's a good story and characters or not.
And it's a fun story. I mean, one of my favorite songs out of that was when the evil Shirley Temple character starts singing her song called Big and Loud. She is such a... I think you would love her character. She was such a crazy, off-the-cuff character. But, yeah, just talk about how great of a character she is. That was her song, her grand song. But the story itself was a kind of your typical country bumpkin which, funny enough, coming from Kokomo, Indiana, where the character was.
Really?
Yeah, going into Hollywood to try and make it big. And was trying to help save this struggling studio where a lot of the performers were just the B through like F grade characters who just either were aging out, weren't popular enough, and they just wanted to perform for the sake of performing, and they were not getting the jobs because they were just not as popular as they were before. And nobody's going to watch the stuff that they do because we're like this. You guys are old hat,
Right.
And so it was the actual cute story upon how we shouldn't take the old school stuff for granted because this stuff is what brings in the new stuff.
Yeah.
And it's a really great, cute story. And we'll sit down and watch it someday because, like I said, I have it on DVD. I bought it a while back ago, and I've been wanting to watch it again. And yeah, we can sit and watch it. But,
Yeah, it's to me when people go like Eric doesn't like musicals. He just doesn't like music, and I end up going like, no. I don't like it when the musical is nothing but music and the characters and story is only there to deliver the next song and dance.
Yeah.
To me, then I'm like, fine. Then say there's two kinds of musicals. One that's just music for music's sake, which is fine. I'll like it if I like the music. If I don't like the music, then why am I watching it? But if it's a character and story and plot, and I like that, and I don't necessarily care for the music so much, I'll still enjoy it because of the character and the plot.
Yeah.
And so yeah, it's like suddenly it's like, oh, we're just going to go dancing in the rain. Okay, well the story's kind of weak and I don't care for the music. Fine, you guys enjoy it, that's cool, I'll go do something else. But don't sit there going like, man, it's so great, and then I don't care for the music and the plot and the character's kind of weak.
It's funny because My Little Pony actually like made fun of themselves a couple episodes doing that. It's like they just kind of like start singing in the middle of nowhere for no reason. Really? And they start singing. They're just like, what the heck is this?
That's my exact thought, being like, just tell me that like there's an A and B type, and if it's a great story, it's like the Sweeney Todd musical with Johnny Depp.
Yeah.
Okay, liked some of the music, didn't like some of the music, enjoyed the story, loved the quirky assembly of the whole thing. So I enjoyed it. So there's a musical that I enjoyed, but there was characters and story happening, and then you get this bizarre, gory story, and then they'll pop into a musical, and I'd be like, what is going on? Like, yeah, this is so weird. But then you get like Moana or Frozen, where the characters in the story were good at some points, bad in others. The story had a lot of promise, but the story could have been better, but you couldn't get it because they kept breaking into song every 3 minutes. And so I actually ended up hating compulsively hating the music because it kept literally getting in the way of the characters and story. Especially Moana. Moana kept teasing you with a great plot, which kind of got there, kind of didn't. Like, there's moments where you're like, wish I had more foreshadowing of this. Oh, why are they doing this? I don't know. Breaking into song instead of explaining what's going on with the character.
And they had more songs than the traditional Disney musical did, which honestly, as a fan of musicals and a person who absolutely adores musicals, to me that was kind of a mistake. It's like they sacrificed music for the sake of story, and I mean it was.
You just got that switched.
I'm sorry, they sacrificed story for the sake
of music. Yeah.
But and the thing is, it was such a beautiful setup.
It was. That's what got me.
The characters,
I loved the intro when you had the super charming bit with the family, and you got this cute little girl out on the beach, and she's playing with the water, and I'm going like, where is this going? And then you're like, oh, the ocean is like a spiritual creature. I'm like, oh, this is where is this going? And it's like all this great mythological stuff built up, and the characters are getting slowly built up, and then all of a sudden, like, oh no, things are happening and you don't know why, and the reason why it's happening is because of a musical number. You're like, wait, what?
The intro song, which is standard for any musical, you have to have the intro song, which I'm like,
no,
okay,
you don't have to have
which
it.
I'm cool with that. It's like, okay. The thing is with a lot of the intro songs, though, usually there's a bit more heart to it. And for me, that's one of the things that
Yeah,
that
there was
Moana,
heart missing in Moana. There was a lot of
that's what I'm
heart
saying. That's the
missing.
one thing that was really missing to me in Moana was the heart. It's like when we talked about before, when the part when, and for those who haven't seen it, spoilers, when one of the main characters passes away. Yeah, usually that's the pivotal part where you kind of get a little...
The grandma died and it wasn't remotely sad.
Yeah, I honestly...
That's a crime.
Yeah.
That's a crime.
Yeah, I mean, the whole part when her spirit passes on to her spirit animal, I thought that was really neat and it was beautifully done.
But it wasn't sad.
Yeah, I wanted so much more because that scene could have been so heart-tugging.
You don't...
Tweaked it just a little bit more.
You don't get to kill grandma and not cry.
Yeah.
That is a no-no. I am so sorry. I don't care how much you like Moana. You don't get to murder grandma in front of the entirety of the audience and be like, no, let's present it in a way that's like, look at the magical animal. Let's lead into a song.
Grandma got ran over by a stingray.
Thank you. I'm about to say the animal was singing. Grandma got ran over by a stingray.
No, but honestly, I think for those who were really into it,
It's like, dang it, seriously.
that part did that for them, and that those who were really into it, that was that moment, and it actually did tug with them. But for us, who were just, I'm saying those who were into it, that was good for them, and that actually did happen for them. Unfortunately,
Grandma
for us,
dying was so good.
no, I mean
That's good for me.
No, there was that pivotal moment for them that did tug a few heartstrings for them. But for us, who were just trying to and I hate to put it like this, get through the movie.
It was a chore after a while.
I mean, and the thing is, I wanted to enjoy it so bad. I bought the art book like a month before I got the movie, and I didn't unwrap it until after
I was so excited about it,
Yeah,
and then they just pooped in my eye.
Yeah, there was so much I wanted to love about it, but I honestly, I felt betrayed, and I hate to do it. Like,
Thank you. That's exactly. I felt betrayed. I felt ripped off and betrayed at Moana.
It's like Disney has been such a part of our lives, and my life specifically, because of what I've grown up with and wanting to basically work for them. And it was basically like having a best friend. Like you found out that the best friend wasn't the best friend that you thought.
Well, it's like, for example, Frozen. I walked into Frozen knowing I was going to get screwed. Seriously. I'm like, oh, look, Disney can't handle what they're doing, so they're resorting to another singing princess movie. I'm going to get screwed. But Zootopia was freaking amazing.
Yes.
Maybe they're going to do something amazing here, so let's watch it. Okay, no, they screwed me. They screwed me hard. The things that were interesting about it were downplayed. The things that were boring were just shoved in your face over and over again. Look, here's another talking princess sidekick character who everyone wants to buy the plushie of. Get Olaf off the screen. Remove him from the movie. He had nothing to do with the story. Nothing. He had nothing to do with the story. Oh, look, here's a snowman. Here's a snowman. Here's a snowman. Oh, guess we're going to sing again. I got to a point where I was going like, Jesus, just stop.
So you've been going for just over an hour now.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I guess I got caught in the talkins. I got caught in the talkins.
Yeah, I probably should like draw back so you can actually.
No. This is what I was hoping for is. Because I have Sunday morning sketches, which is just me sketching, which if people are really into the craft is cool and all, but I mean, let's face it,
This is looking really good, by the way.
Oh, is it? Yeah, no, I thought I was going to put glasses on him, but then I'm so digging his face, I don't want to put glasses on him. Which is actually funny. I think I got 90% of the way there in the first 15 minutes, and I've just sort of been just tinkering with them ever since.
Your skills on doing cartoony stuff is really coming along nicely. I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you.
Well, that's the thing about cartoony stuff is it's not as easy as people think it is, but it's not as hard. And people go, oh, if I draw realistically, I can't do cartoons. Bull, it's all drawing. And so, yeah, so it's like, actually, I'm kind of happy with these two. I think I'm done enough for now, but it's like, I love this because I love tough old dude characters. I love this is, I want to develop my own personal tough old dude characters because I've got some, but I don't have them figured out visually yet. So it's now I suddenly realized why I was enjoying drawing Popeye. It took me a week to figure it out. It's because I've got gruff old dude characters, and then when I figured that out and I was watching Gravity Falls, I was like, oh, I've always loved Gruncle Stan. I'm going to draw Gruncle Stan. And so now I've got a number of these characters where I'm like, I kind of want to figure them out. So yeah, I think that's why I got into it. But I apologize / not apologize to no.
Sorry, not sorry.
Yeah, sorry, not sorry. To anybody that has a problem with this going for an hour. Apologizing, not apologizing. This is fun. This is what I do. This is fun for me. If it wasn't fun for you, don't watch. No, seriously, I'm of that opinion. If you don't like something, don't watch it. If you like something, watch it. And for me, this was fun. This was me drawing on Sunday morning, which is the point of Sunday morning sketch, is entertaining me, and then hopefully it's entertaining to other people whom are somewhat like me, maybe. So, anyways, yeah, I thought that turned out pretty good. Actually, I kind of dig that. I actually was wondering. I'm actually off model, which is actually awesome for Gruncle Stan. Added space between the eyes and made a more realistic nose, and the proportions are slightly different. But I love the ears and I didn't finish off the fez. I'll get that later. But no, I think that reads as Gruncle Stan, and I think it works in my style. So, not using hands well. There we go. Okay. Anywho. Thank you for joining me, everyone, and for people who aren't watching this live, thank you for joining me and all that.